Hi everybody, my name's Micky Bush. I'm an alcoholic. I'm probably an addict too. I identify that way in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, because in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings we've learned and we like to identify one alcoholic to another alcoholic. That's what seems to have worked around here. It seemed to have worked pretty good when Bill met Bob in 1935, and it certainly worked pretty good for me on January the 15th, 1983. And if you're new around here, I've absolute faith and trust that it's likely to work pretty good for you. So in Alcoholics Anonymous, we've learned that we do best when we identify one alcoholic to another alcoholic. And so consequently, in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, I identify as an alcoholic and probably an addict, because that's the way we like it done. But you see, I am a real alcoholic. I am a total alcoholic. I'm a real alcoholic of the kind described in this beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous. An alcoholic of our kind. Everything about me is alcoholic. There's not just a part of me alcoholic or a big part of me that ain't alcoholic. I'm all alcoholic, totally alcoholic. See? Anything I say up here, do not confuse me with anybody who ain't alcoholic. Because I am a real alcoholic. And so, you know, as an alcoholic, a real alcoholic, I have the right to be dysfunctional in as many ways as I like. Don't tell me I can't be screwed up in loads of other ways as well, because I do and I am, see? So consequently, being a real alcoholic, I did loads of other things as well as drink alcohol. I always drank, but I never only drank. I always drank, but I never only drank, see? So consequently, I did loads of other things, good things and bad things, like drugs. I did mountains of drugs, good drugs, and bad ones, you know. And so consequently, I get asked to speak in Narcotics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous and other anonymous programs. And I do. And when I speak and share in those meetings, I identify as an addict and probably an alcoholic. Because that's the way they like it done too, see? And so consequently, I don't have a problem with that today, you know. I used to get into all that kind of kerfuffle, but I don't today, you know. And you know, the truth of the matter is, and some of you guys know me a long time, and you know, I have to keep it rigorously honest, and I let you know that, you know, the truth really is that I'm really sick. I'm living proof you ain't the sickest person in this room. And so consequently, if there's a 12-step program of any kind, I'm a contender for it, you know. It don't matter what it is, for Christ's sake. You know, AA, NA, CA, ACA, Overeaters, Little Peters. It don't matter what it is. It don't matter what it is. Don't laugh, yeah. See? So consequently, you know, I got to fess up, you know, really. I you know, you guys know me, and I did go to a Little Peter meeting, and they wouldn't let me in, said I didn't qualify. Well, you black folk think you got a monopoly on that, or what? Yeah. They let Frank in, wouldn't let me in. See, so like, I am a real alcoholic, folks, a total alcoholic. Everything about me is alcoholic. And I never knew that when I got here. I just never knew. Well, on January the 15th, 1983, when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I never knew that. I never knew who I was or what I was or anything about that. I thought I did. I thought I knew everything about everything, but I actually knew nothing about nothing. You know, I mean, if you'd wanted to know how the space shuttle blew up when I was drinking and my arse was on a bar stool, I mean, I would tell you. I mean, because I knew. I mean, space shuttle, I only missed being on it by that much. You know, I mean, when I was And I was drinking, you know, everything, you see. But I actually knew nothing about nothing. So everything I say about myself or about my alcoholism, about the disease, about recovery is all what I've learned since I got here on January the 15th, 1983. Because I never knew none of this when I got here. And I say that because everything I say is all in retrospect. It's all in retrospect. It's all since I got here. Not, you know, before I got here. I never knew any of this stuff while I was doing it and while it was going on. So if you're new around here tonight, you know, and it's you know, kind of strange to you, and you don't understand it, or you just don't know what we're going on about, you know, let me encourage you to do what you guys encouraged me to do on January the 15th, 1983, and that was keep coming back. You know, that's the most prolific thing I heard on January the 15th, was somebody said, keep coming back. You know, and I never knew what the jargon was. I arrived at this meeting in West Hollywood, down there in West Hollywood where I was living, and I don't know whether you guys know West Hollywood, but it's a very special part of town. You know, it's if you're gay, don't be offended. It's nothing to do with nothing. It's just the place I was living. It's commonly called Boys Town, referred to as Boys Town. You know. If you don't know what I mean by that, it's the kind of town where if you drop your wallet on Santa Monica Boulevard, you've got to kick it up to Sunset before you can pick it up. Nothing to do with nothing, you know what I mean? Anyway, but I walked down to this meeting, and outside this meeting was two dudes, you know, and I approached this meeting, and one of them stepped forward, like, with his hand out like that. I went, what do you want? You know? He said, I want to welcome you to AA. I said, what? He said, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. I said, what? And the other guy said, keep coming back. I said, what? He said, keep coming back. I said, what for? He said, we love you. I said, I bet you do. When dudes tell you they love you in West Hollywood, it takes on a whole new meaning, you know? I don't know nothing about nothing. I don't know about the love of one drunk for another drunk. I don't know none of that. You know, they told me I was like grey and I was loud and I was just coming off a 3-day run and I was just like, you know, loud and antisocial and foreign and, you know, just hurting and never knew nothing about nothing. I don't know I'm an alcoholic. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know any way of living. I don't know nothing about nothing. I am on this process which today, in retrospect, I know God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. And I know that as clear as anything that I can possibly describe to you. I was in the process, and God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, and I don't even know no God. I don't have no truck with no God. I mean, you guys said, let go and let God, and I said, what? And you said, turn it over to God, and I said, what? And you said, pray to God. I said, what? Are you nuts? If I pray to him, he'll know where I am. You know, I've been ducking God for years. I mean, I won't, you know, like, I can just kind of picture like, oh, Heavenly Father, help me. And I've got this vision of him going, there you are, you little shit. I mean, look at you, exactly, you know. I mean, that God of my understanding was going to strike me blind for playing with the old ding-a-ling, for Christ's sake, you know what I mean? Well, you know I did anyway, right? When I found out how good it felt, I thought, well, I'll risk one eye. See, I wanted a softer, easier way even then, see? I don't know nothing, see? I just don't know nothing, and God's doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. You know, and I just don't. And I don't know why I drink. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know nothing. See, I know you guys do. I was different because you guys, I hear you share. I heard you share today and other times. You guys, you all knew why you drank. You all know why you drink. I didn't. I don't know why I drink. I don't know nothing. Why do I drink? I don't know why I drink. I drink. Everybody I know drinks. Everybody from where I come from drinks. And they drink like me or I drink like them and we all drink. We don't drink for a reason. And we don't not drink for a reason. We drink. Everybody drinks. Except those weird people. Weird people didn't drink, but they did weird shit too. Like, you know, talk to police and shit. I don't do that. I don't know anybody who does that, you know. I mean, we drink if the team wins, we drink if the team loses, and if it's a tie, we drink till there's a result. You know, that's just what we do. And we drink till we're full up, or until we can get as full up as we can get, and just sloshing around inside myself. You know, just, in fact, if I never had skin, I'd have just formed a puddle, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Just, that's how I drink. Now, I don't know why I do that. I've always done that. That's what I do. I drink, and that's what I do, and that's what everybody does, and we don't do it, we just do it. Always done it. Don't know why I do it, just do it. That's now you guys, I hear you share in me, is that you know why you drank. I heard of the day, somebody said they drank because they, you know, were trying to cover up their pain, and they were trying to, you know, get out of themselves so they couldn't stand themselves, and they were drinking because they just couldn't stand who they were, and I thought, well, what stage of the game do you discover that? I can't even imagine that. I can't imagine going into a pub and saying to the bartender, oh, bartender, hit me with a triple shot of your best shit, because I can't stand who I am and I want to cover up the pain tonight, you know. You know, it never happens, you know. Oh, Mr. Dealer Man, give me an extra rock, because I really feel inadequate. You know, it never happens. You guys say that. I don't know that. I'm here and I'm dying of a disease I don't even know I've got and don't know what's happening, you know. My name's Micky Bush. I'm an alcoholic. I'm in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I know what's wrong with me and I know what to do about it. Now, that's a lot of shit right there. I never knew that when I got here, see? I know who I am, what I am, where I ought to be, what's wrong with me and what to do about it. And I never knew that on January the 15th, 1983. I knew my name, Micky Bush. I mean, it should have given me a clue. Micky Bush. They named me after 2 beers, for Christ's sake, you know. We got a twofold disease, mind and body. MB, mind and body, Micky Bush, you know. But, you know, I'm dying of a disease. Micky Bush, think about it. Micky Bush puts me somewhere between a mouse and a president. You know what I mean? Somewhere in that spectrum is where you're likely to find me. Somewhere between a mouse and a president, you know? Micky Bush. And I never realised it for a long time, but, you know, you make gratitude your attitude, and, you know, I never knew about gratitude and stuff like that, and yet I had something to be grateful for from the moment I was christened, you know, and Micky Bush. I mean, I am really grateful my name ain't Harry. You know? You're a rotten lot laughing at that. Can you imagine going through life with a name like Harry Bush? Yeah, sure, yeah. Well, screw you, yeah, that's it. But, you know, I don't know this stuff, I don't know. And contrary to what a lot of you guys say in meetings and what I call lip-flapping party line bullshit, you know, I don't know I'm alcoholic. They say it's a self-diagnosed disease. Do what? How can I self-diagnose a disease that I'm powerless over and tells me I ain't got it? How can I do that? It's like God won't give you more than you can handle. Do what? God won't give you more than you can handle? If he didn't give me more than I could handle, I wouldn't need his bloody help with it, would I? You know what I mean? You know, I don't know where that crap comes from, you know. I mean, I hear a lot of stuff here. I have no idea where it comes from. Nothing to do with nothing, you know. Like, you know, no one can tell you're an alcoholic. It's a self-diagnosis. I do what? I mean, I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, and a dude got up in my face and said, "You're alcoholic." I said, "What?" "You're alcoholic." "Alcoholic? You're an alcoholic." "I'm an alcoholic?" You're an alcoholic." "Alcoholic?" I thought that's bloody mean to say a thing like that. What do you mean, alcoholic? You're an alcoholic. Alcoholic? What do you mean, alcoholic? If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and sounds like a duck and smells like a duck, it's a bloody duck. Just because it's been taking some shit and thinks it's an eagle, no, you're a duck. You're a duck, I'm a duck. Quack, quack, he said. Holy shit. Alcoholic? 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 Holy shit. Alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholic. Huh. Alcoholic. Far out. Far out. Alcoholic. Man, I'm an alcoholic. Told me I was alcoholic. They've been locking me up in nut wards all my life. I ain't nuts. I'm alcoholic. Far out. Being alcoholic was like a step up for me. I mean, far out. I ran home. I banged on my pal's door, the door that guy just kicked me out of that morning. I went, hey, guess what? I'm an alcoholic. I'm powerless over alcohol. My life's unmanageable. He said, no shit. I thought it was going to be a surprise. I thought no one knew. Everybody knew except me. I don't know, and I don't know nothing about nothing. You guys know it all. I don't know nothing about nothing. And you know what? I'm glad that when I got here, as sick as I was, I learned two things in the very beginning. I'm really grateful that I did. When I first got here, I learned two very important things. First and foremost, I learned that this thing wasn't optional. It wasn't like the book said. Our book says, our book is meant to be suggestive only. Well, it may have bloody well meant to be, but it ain't. It's got clear-cut, precise instructions, directions, and rules to follow. All that screwing around about suggestions only. Cigarettes, try cigarettes. I always have to say amends and sorry when I say things like that. See, I learned very quickly that this thing wasn't optional. This thing was conditional. This thing was totally conditional. And the book, it goes on and on and on and on. I've currently got a Virgin book that I'm highlighting through all the things in there that are totally conditional. The things that it says, provided that, condition on this. It's conditional, such as on page 93, it says, he can choose any concept of God he likes, provided it makes sense to him. That is a condition there, my friends. That is conditional. That ain't optional. And if you've got a God of your understanding, give it to us. Make sure that you can. Never mind about all that crap about, you can't understand God. What do you mean you don't understand God? No one's ever asked me to understand God before. Well, you better, because it says so there. Provided it makes sense to him. That is a condition. That's the same type of condition as the judge saying, yeah, you can have bail, provided you pay your fine. Why don't you try saying to the judge, well, I'll get round to it eventually. No, the judge say, well, you'll get released eventually, you know. See, the book is totally conditional, and so is this program. It is conditional. Love may be unconditional, but this disease isn't, and nor is the recovery. It was totally conditional. If I wanted to stay clean and sober, I had to do these things that you guys were going to teach me about. The next thing that I learned was that I wasn't equal to you when I got here. When I got here, never mind about all that equality crap, you know, in God's eyes I may have been equal, maybe spiritually I was equal, but as far as this disease and this recovery was concerned, what I had wasn't equal to what you had. I was dying of untreated alcoholism and never even knew I had it. You guys had a way of life where you could live happy, joyous and free and recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. I never had that. If I was equal to you, what I had would have been as good as what you had, and it wasn't. I was dying, man, and I never knew what to do about it or how to do it, even if I did know what to do. See, and so I learned those two things very quickly, and I'm glad about that, because they've stood me in good stead ever since. I never knew anything about nothing, and I had a hearing problem because I don't hear shit right. You know, I say shit a lot. Have you noticed? I like the word shit. Your shit, my shit, you're full of shit, no shit, holy shit, you know. My word for shit is S-H-I-T. Simply how I think, you know. My thinking I can't rely on. That's why some of you lot think I'm full of crap. Well, if you think I'm full of crap, my word for crap is C-R-A-P, carrying resentments against people. Have a party. See, I don't hear shit right. Never have. I don't know whether you say things right. I just don't collate stuff the same as other people. All my life I seem to have got in trouble because I just don't seem to hear shit the same as other people. Never have done. Never. It wasn't never just happened to me just because I got here. You think just because I got to recovery I started hearing things wrong? No. Years ago when I was living in my mum's house in northwest London, my mum still lives in northwest London. I'm from northwest London, by the way. You probably picked up on that, right? You know, this is the way I talk. Alcohol never done this to me. You know what I'm saying? My mum still lives in northwest London, and years ago when I lived in my mum's house, I mean, I got a mum, she's a dynamic lady, my mum. She's just a salt of the earth character. And you know, for years I thought, I really did think she had eyes in her arse, you know what I'm saying? Because she never missed nothing. My mum never missed nothing. I mean, I don't know whether you're a mum like that or you got one like it, but I mean, I would come home drunk and I would be stumbling around downstairs, and my mum would be in her bed, of course, and she never missed nothing, and she would hear me and she'd yell out down the stairs, "Drunk again, son?" And I'd yell back, "So am I, Mum." You can laugh. But she'd say, "I'm not bloody drunk, for Christ's sake, I've been in bed since 8 o'clock, what the hell's wrong with you?" And I still wouldn't get it. I think, well, why did she say she was drunk then? Because I don't hear shit right, see? I just don't seem to hear shit the same as other people. You know, and years later, you know, it's the same thing happening. I just don't seem to cotton to things the same as other people. You know, and so I don't know whether I got told I was alcoholic or not. I may have done, but I just don't seem to hear it, and I don't seem to collate it, and I don't seem to cotton to it. You know, because one of the things... Are there any other weird people in here tonight? Any other weirdos in here? And the rest of you lying mothers, don't give me that crap, yeah. I mean, all my life people said, "What is wrong with you? What the hell's wrong with you? For Christ's sake, what's wrong with you? You're goddamn weird, you are. Do you know that? You're bloody weird. You now get the hell away from me, weirdo." And they would ask me what's wrong with me as if I knew. They would ask me, "What is wrong with you?" as if I could give them an answer. For Christ's sake, what's wrong with you? "Oh, actually, I've got a twofold disease. It's an obsession of the mind and an allergy of the body. I can't control my drinking." I don't know what's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong with me. What's wrong with you? Why do you drink like you do? Why don't you drink like I do? I mean, I don't know. I don't know nothing. I'm just dying and I don't know nothing. Now, I'm not an idiot. I'm a smart dude. I'm a happening dude. I got a great education. I got letters after my name, for Christ's sake. I got a PhD. Pretty heavy drinker. Now, you know... But I ain't an idiot. But I don't hear things right. I don't collate things. I keep getting locked up, and I'm in and out. I'm voted most likely to succeed. I mean, I'm a great guy. 22 years of age. You know, I was travelling all over Europe and running crazy with every kind of rock and roll thing there was going. And I was in Spain, and a German baroness fell in love with me. And she just wanted to marry me and scurf me off and introduce me to a load of aristocracy, Princess Grace and all those folk. And she wanted to, like, marry me and all that. And I said, "Screw off, I'm busy." I was 22-year-old alcoholic, busy. I had things to do, you know. And I fulfilled all my potential. Because you know that, don't you? All that potential stuff. You know, that potential. All they really mean when they say he's got great potential is he's a piece of shit now. You know? Well, I fulfilled all my potential. I was potentially an alcoholic and I became one. You know, and that's where it is. Didn't only drink, but always drank. Now, I know in Alcoholics Anonymous, some folk don't like to hear about drugs in Alcoholics Anonymous. And, you know, I tell stories about drugs because I did all my drugs alcoholically. That's what I did. And, you know, I always went back to drinking. If I did a drug, I always went back to drinking. And just, you know, just damn it. I have to mention it. 5 times in the last year and a half, I've spoken at 5 Icky Pars. If you know what Icky Pars are, the International Convention of Young People in AA. These are young people coming through the ranks of Alcoholics Anonymous. Some of these folk, you know, are 20, 22, 25 years old. And they got 10, 12 years of sobriety. I was at one meeting where a 10-year-old girl took a 3-year birthday cake. These are the young folk coming through the ranks of Alcoholics Anonymous. And in 5 Icky Park conventions in the last year and a half, I've asked the question, how many people in the room just and only drank alcohol? And in 5 conventions of the young people in Alcoholics Anonymous coming through the ranks, not one hand has been raised. We have a duty to carry to these alcoholics. And young people today, it's easier for them to get drugs than it is to get alcohol, for heaven's sake. And we've got to teach this message, and I'm not ashamed of it. But if you're an alcoholic in Alcoholics Anonymous that just and only drank alcohol, you know, a specialist, you know, I'm really glad you're here, you know. And it's not a requirement to have done drugs in Alcoholics Anonymous. I want you to know that. And I support 100% our singleness of purpose. But, you know, I did everything, you know, and I never knew. And I know it was driving me crazy. And when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I never drank from day one. But for 4 more months after I got here, I carried on doing all the other drugs and stuff that I was doing. And I can tell you from personal experience, if you're doing anything other than but not drinking or whatever you consider your drug of choice, you know, if you're anything like me, a real alcoholic, you will end up completely and totally insane. Totally, as I did in Alcoholics Anonymous, 4 months not drinking in Alcoholics Anonymous, but doing all the other shit, totally and completely insane. Nuts. Totally. N-U-T-S, not using the steps. That's what my message for nuts is. And so consequently, I don't hear shit right, and I never heard that it was all mind-altering chemicals that affect you from the neck up. I never heard that, you see. It was alcohol, alcoholics, Anonymous, don't drink. Okay, so I never drank. So, no big deal, I quit drinking. Never drank in Alcoholics Anonymous. Never drank, no problem. Carried on doing all the other shit. Didn't have a problem with the other shit. I'm 6 weeks sober, took a 30-day chip, loaded to the gills. Took a 30-day chip. My mate who 12-stepped me, an English rock and roll singer, he came into that meeting. He took one look at me, he went, Mick, what the hell happened to you? I said, what do you mean? He went, well, you're whacked, you're off the wall. I said, what do you mean I'm whacked off the wall? He said, what are you on? I said, nothing. I ain't even drank any of that spiritual booze, you know, that Christian Brothers brandy or any of that stuff. He said, well, you're on something. What are you on? I said, nothing. He said, you can't feel like that on nothing. What did you do since you got up this morning? I said, same as I do every morning. What? He said. I said, I woke up. I smoked a doobie. He said, what? I said, I always smoke a doobie before I get out of bed. We had some good indica bud come in over the weekend. He said, you can't do that. I said, what do you mean I can't do that? He said, it's a mind-altering chemical. I said, no, it ain't. It's pot. He said, keep coming back. What a dick. Holy shit. Yeah, screw you. It don't mean pot. I like pot. I don't have a problem with pot. Pot only does 2 things to me. Makes me horny, makes me hungry. Nothing wrong with that. Well, some mornings you wake up with a sore arm and a bed full of pizza crust. But apart from that, you know... Oh, you do that sick shit up here in, like, wherever we are, yeah. I also do cocaine. Anybody here do a little cocaine? Anybody do a lot? No shit. Do anything with cocaine except pay for it. Don't like paying for it. No. I also do speed, crystal crank. Anybody here do a little speed, crystal crank? Anybody do a lot? No shit. Did it make your dick disappear too? Oh, you can laugh. Don't worry about that. Fire up a bunch of crystal, your dick will disappear. You ain't going to read that in no Betty Ford manual. Oh, yeah, do some crystal, your dick will disappear, yeah. No. We have it here. Heroin, I love puking on you. I don't care. But I'm here. If you hear nothing else here tonight, hear that if you're alcoholic, if you're a real alcoholic, we have to abstain from all mind-altering chemicals that affect you from the neck up. That is a must, and it is a condition around here. We have to abstain. If for no other reason, if you don't, you will be giving God the finger. You think I knew I was giving God the finger? But what would you call it? See, on page 86 of the beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, it says our thought life will be on a much higher plane, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Now, if he gave me a brain to use, he gave me the brain he wants me to have. Now, if he gave me a brain, he gave you a brain. He don't love me more than you, or you more than me. If he gave me a brain, he gave me the brain he wants me to have. If he gave you a brain, he gave you a brain he wants you to have. He don't make no mistakes, and he don't make no shit. So if he gave me the brain he wants me to have, he gave me the brain he wants me to use. Well, what else would you call it other than giving God the finger if you said, well, thanks for my recovery and thanks for my fellowship, my wife back and my child and my house and my car, but as far as that mind you gave me is concerned, screw you, because I'm going to alter that brain you gave me with this mind-altering substance of any kind. What would you call it other than giving God the finger? And you can't get any recovery around here giving God the finger. It don't work. I don't care whether you like that or not. I don't care. It's a fact. You cannot give God the finger by taking a mind-altering substance of any kind, because it won't work. And if you're alcoholic like me, it is bad to do alcohol and drugs. And God can't be involved in anything bad, because God's all good. There's no bad involved in God. And so if you're like me, a child of God, and you're an alcoholic addict like me, and you're doing drugs, that's bad. So God can't be involved there, because God and bad don't coexist. See? So I don't care where you come from or what you've heard or learned. That is the truth, and that is a must if you be alcoholic. And those alcoholics that are still doing that other trickery end up paying a very devastating price. And I hope that it's not you. And I have to carry that message. I know if you're offended by that, I'll make an amend to you later. But I never knew that, you see. So completely and totally insane in Alcoholics Anonymous, not knowing and not hearing. But you know what? You guys taught me well. And bit by bit, I kept coming back. And bit by bit, more got revealed. And bit by bit, you know, I came in here broke, busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted. And things turned round. And bit by bit, my life started getting better. And bit by bit, you know, I can stand here as living proof that this thing works. I am living proof that this thing works. This way of life that we have, that the beautiful book Alcoholics Anonymous tells me, with this attitude you cannot fail. That is a guarantee right there. And you know, there's many more of them in the beautiful book. Anybody read this book, by the way? It's a good idea. You know, I mean, it just seems to work better when you do that. You know. What, you all got strange bladders? I hope everything comes out all right. I didn't know, for example, that what happened to me on January the 15th, 1983, was something that I heard about was hitting bottom. See, I never knew what hitting bottom was. In Alcoholics Anonymous, it seems to be a catchy little phrase that we say around here, everybody's bottom's different. Well, those people who say that don't understand what bottom is. See, and if you don't understand what bottom is, hitting bottom is, you better learn. Because it's absolutely imperative. Because if you don't learn it, whoever you pass this thing on to, you won't be passing this message. This message is what we got up here. Now, I heard what we read out here tonight was, if you want what we've got and are willing to go to any lengths to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. Well, what was that? I wanted to know what that was. What is that? What is it that we've got that we suggest new people go to any lengths to get? Us that have worked this program and worked these steps, and this is a way of life, not a theory, but a way of life, and that work these principles in all our affairs, what is it that we've got that we suggest you guys who ain't done it go to any lengths to get? And I asked, and I got all kinds of different answers, such as freedom, such as serenity, such as no, that ain't what we got. See, what we got is in the beautiful 12th step. It says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. That's what we got who have done these steps that you who haven't ain't got. See, now, we that have done these steps and got this way of life have a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. Now, I hear a lot of folks claim that miracles in their life and breakthroughs and awakenings up the wazoo, but they ain't done the steps or ain't doing the steps. Well, I got news for you. I don't care if you've had breakthroughs or not. It's wonderful. I'm glad you ain't got what you used to have, and I'm glad you got what you got. But it ain't what we got, because what we got's as a result of the steps. And if you ain't done the steps or ain't doing the steps, I'm glad you got what you got, but it ain't what we got. And if you want what we got, do the bloody steps. Ooh. It's just what works. 95% of us folks are not making it over the long haul. 95% of the people who get to Alcoholics Anonymous don't make it over the long haul. That's far too many. 95% of us ain't making a program that really works. 95% of us. The biggest group of people who drink and drug again after the initial new period, which is generally referred to as the first year, the next biggest group of people who drink and drug is between 7 and 10 years. Between 7 and 10 years is the next biggest group of people in Alcoholics Anonymous who drink and drug after the initial new period, which is the first year. And they start drinking and drugging at 7 years based on what they never did at 5 years. And what they didn't do at 5 years is what they never truly learnt at 2, 3 and 4 years. And people say, why is that, Mick? Why is that? And I say, chicken shit sponsorship springs to mind. You better be carrying this message for the poor person coming up behind. We have a duty to do that. We must stay sober and carry the message. Stay sober, carry the message. That's what we have a duty to perform. That is necessity. Not only is it our duty to do that, but it's absolutely essential for us. In the beautiful book it says it's imperative, otherwise we wither up and perish ourselves. See? And so we have to do that. And I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to do it, and I'm here, and I'm shaky, and I'm smelly, and I don't know what to do and how to do it. And you guys got to help me. You guys got to teach me, show me, and guide me, and nurture me. That's why in my houses, I've got sober living houses. Any day of the week, I've got upwards of 100 people, depending on the message I'm carrying to them. You think I'm going to be responsible for them not getting their shot at recovery? I'm not going to do that. You guys taught me well. I'm going to learn it well and teach you well. I'm going to pass on this message, not those messages, this message. Because if I pass it on to you wrong, you may not get it right, and then if you don't get it right, you may not give it to the next guy right. And if you're the only example of this program that he gets a chance of getting, and he misses his shot at sobriety because I never did my duty and you didn't do yours, I'm not going to be responsible for that. My old man upstairs, he says, I give you freedom to do what you want. I gave you a life and I gave you freedom to do what you want with it. You can screw it up if you want, but don't screw one of my kids up. That offends me and hurts me. I'm not going to do that. So I have a duty to do that, and we have a duty to carry this message. This message, not those messages, and it's in this beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And you guys did. You taught me, and you said, keep coming back. We love you. That's what you said to me. And you just wrapped your arms around me and loved me. Even when I couldn't do nothing. I was paralyzed with fear. You think I knew I was paralyzed with fear? I never knew that. I wasn't afraid of nothing. I was actually full of fear. That's why one of the words I use is F-E-A-R, fear. Frantic efforts to appear recovered. Right here. You know how many people are walking around here dying of fear, trying to pretend that there's something? No, I'm not going to do that. So I get here to Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know I'm in the process. I don't know about hitting bottom. You guys had to teach me and I had to learn. And I did learn about the process. Now, I ask folk, what is it about you that makes you an alcoholic? What is it about you that you said you're alcoholic. I believe you, but what is it about you that makes you alcoholic? You know what? They don't know. They think they know. They say what they do because they're alcoholic. They tell me alcoholic addictive behaviour. They endorse the fact that they're alcoholic by telling me one's too many and 1,000 ain't enough. Once I stop, I can't start. I can't control and enjoy my drink. That's not what it is about you that makes you alcoholic. That's what you do because you're alcoholic, but that's not the question. If you're saying you're alcoholic, and I want to know what it is about you that makes you alcoholic, because in the beautiful book on page 30 it says, we learned we had to fully concede to our innermost self that we are alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. Now, if it's the first step in recovery, I want to know about it. See, not the first of the 12, the first step in recovery, not the first of the 12. See, we learned we had to fully concede to our innermost self that we were alcoholic. Well, I hear a lot of people walking around here talking about admittance, acceptance, and surrender. Admittance, acceptance, and surrender. Admittance, acceptance, and surrender. Sounds like the deal. Sounds like what we have to do around here. Admittance, acceptance, and surrender. Well, I've got news for you. No, it ain't. It ain't the deal. Admittance, acceptance, and surrender is not the deal. Fully conceding to your innermost self that you are is the deal, and then admitting, accepting, and surrendering to that. But if you're trying to admit, accept, and surrender without having fully conceded to your innermost self that you are, you're screwed, and it won't work. You think I knew that when I got here? I never knew that. I never had a clue. Somebody said to me, what did you hit in bottom? Oh, I said, yeah, I hit bottom. Yeah, well, tell it to me. Oh, I was broke, busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted. Well, I wasn't hitting bottom. What? That's not bottom. Well, around here we say everybody's bottom's different. Everybody's bottom's different. Well, I've got news for you. It better not be different. Everybody's bottom better be the same. If you understand what hitting bottom is. If you don't, it won't. See? I never knew. Everybody's bottom's different. No. The outside circumstances and conditions of hitting bottom was different. But the bottom wasn't about the outside circumstances and conditions. Hitting bottom isn't an outside circumstances and conditions deal. Hitting bottom's an inside job, not an outside circumstance. And when I talk about hitting bottom, most of you guys tell me about the outside circumstances and conditions of your life. In my houses they do. I say, give it to me. Give me what it was. What was your bottom? They say, oh, it was like hustling the Broadway, feet to the curb, trying to earn $1. I was broke, busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted. I was locked up in a penitentiary, married to Bubba. You know? They tell me all kinds of shit. Nothing to do with actually hitting bottom. That's outside circumstances and conditions. That's not what your hitting bottom is all about. Now, sometimes those outside circumstances and conditions enable us to become capable of hitting bottom, but in and of themselves, they are not bottom. And if you think they are, even in sobriety, you will hit bottom after bottom after bottom and get sicker and sicker and sicker. See? And it will hurt and hurt and hurt. See? If you don't understand what this stuff is. See, hitting bottom isn't an outside job. Hitting bottom's an inside job. That's why all of us have to hit bottom in the same way, like I did on January the 15th, 1983. That's why those celebrities and those millionaires that I sponsor have to hit bottom just as devastatingly as those guys I work with on Skid Row. See, because hitting bottom's not about high bottom and low bottom. There's no such bloody thing as high bottom and low bottom. We got alcoholics in this program that have walked on the moon. That seems pretty bloody high to me, you see. I asked him, actually, oh, Bud, when you were up there on the moon, the guy who planted the flag on the moon, I said, did you look back to Earth and think, God, I'm a long way from a drink? He said, no, I never thought of it. I said, must be a chicken shit alcoholic. I would have done, you know. But, you know, there's no such thing as high bottom and low bottom if you understand bottom, because it's an inside job, not an outside circumstances. Those outside circumstances are sometimes, you know, different. But hitting bottom happened for me on January the 15th, 1983. And that was the time where, in desperation and despair, and in complete desolation, without knowing what I was talking to or who I was talking to, I just said, help me, please help me, what is wrong with me? I can't stand this anymore. Anybody relate to that? And did what I'd never done before, ask for help. ASK, Ask Saving Kit. Help, H-E-L-P, His Ever-Loving Presence. And it was almost like the old man was looking over my shoulder and he seemed to say to me, Mick, you silly bastard, I've been waiting for you to ask. Now get yourself over there to that AA meeting and send me to you. And holy shit. Holy shit. I asked for help and he sent me to you. That's why I know God and the power are different. God and the power. God provided us with this power to enable me to be restored to sanity. I'd been locked up and incarcerated in all kinds of institutions. I'd been ostracized from society and locked up in padded cells and chained down like an animal and shot up with drugs and zapped on electric machines. And don't volunteer for that shit, by the way, because it don't work, you know what I mean? And I've been in bloody places cuckoos wouldn't fly over, man, never mind about that. But that wasn't the insanity that we were talking about here and that you taught me. You taught me about the insanity that we have here in recovery as being repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result. Drinking! All the stuff that had gone on as a result of my drinking, for me to even think about drinking was an insane thought. For me to follow that insane thought with an insane action of drinking again was insanity personified. And yet everybody who relapses does that stone cold sober. Stone cold sober and capable of insane thoughts followed by insane actions. Stone cold sober. Wow. and then to drink again and expect something other than what has already happened before to happen is insane. Repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result. That's the insanity. So to be restored to sanity meant not drinking. That wasn't too difficult to work out. If drinking was insanity, to be restored to sanity meant not drinking. That's what happened here. Here was the power provided by God to enable a drunk like me to not have to drink. Wow! I couldn't not drink, you couldn't not drink, but together we could not drink. I couldn't stay sober, you couldn't stay sober, but together we could stay sober. Here was a power greater than myself that would enable me to not have to drink. In and of myself I was powerless, and this disease I had that I was powerless over made me do what I already didn't want to do. That was what that powerless to me meant. See, I was powerless over alcohol because it made me do what I already didn't want to do. When I absolutely didn't want to do it, when every fibre of my body was against doing it, when every desire I got in the world was to not do it, I did it anyway. Did you do that? Yeah. So I had a power, alcohol, making me do what I already didn't want to do. So I had to not want to do it and then do these steps and this work so that I didn't do what I already didn't want to do. And if I wasn't doing these steps on this work, I would do what I didn't want to do because the disease I got that I'm powerless over would make me do what I didn't want to do. I got a desire not to drink today, but I got a disease that does. And that disease that does want to drink is more powerful than my desire not to. So I got to have a desire not to do it, but I can't rely on it. I got to not want to do it and then do these steps in this work so that I don't do it. Holy shit. You think I knew that? I never knew that. You guys taught me that. So I was powerless because I had no power in my life. This book told me lack of power was my dilemma. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Holy shit. If I've got to find him, it means I ain't got him. So I got to get him. I ain't got no God in my life when it comes to alcohol. Powerless. Holy shit. You know the word powerless is only mentioned in the big book once. And that's in the formation of the first step. We admitted we were powerless. Power is mentioned in the beautiful book over and over and over. Powerless is only mentioned once. Power is mentioned over and over and over. New power has flowed into us. We have recovered and been given the power to help the next guy. Praying only for knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry it out. And power, power, power. But we in Alcoholics Anonymous walking around here saying, powerless, powerless over everything. Nothing to do with nothing. Being powerless over people, places and things has nothing to do with nothing. Certainly got nothing to do with alcoholism addiction. Nothing to do with nothing. Everybody is and isn't powerless over people, places and things. Nothing to do with this disease. You think that Pope ain't powerless over wearing that bloody hat? You think Granny Clampett ain't powerless over Jethro? You think that Russian dude with the big purple blob on his head ain't powerless over purple blobs? You know, of course he is. You think you don't get out of the shower one day and say, I'm in charge of half the known world. How come I got a bloody purple blob on my head? Nothing to do with nothing. Powerless over alcohol. And if God is the source and God is the power over everything, and I'm powerless over alcohol, means I've got no God in my life when it comes to alcohol. Holy shit. Well, guess what? When I hit bottom, I joined the process of inviting the power in. Because that's the process, that's why it's so imperative that we understand that. Because I admit I'm powerless over alcohol because I got no God in my life when it comes to alcohol. But our first step is written in a past tense dialogue. We admitted we were powerless, that my life had become unmanageable. Not that I am powerless and it is unmanageable. When alcoholics walk around here in our AA saying I'm powerless, to me, it's the disease getting them to deny the power that's in their life. Why would I do that? Why would I walk around here denying the power that's in my life, here now? Oh, well, I'm not going to do that. I don't tell the troops I work with to do that. You never hear that from me. Why? Because I've got so much bloody power over alcohol, I don't know what to do with it. I know you guys don't say that, but I do. Because we admitted we were powerless, that my life had become unmanageable. Not that I am powerless and it is. Wow. Wait a minute. Let's review this. I hit bottom. I asked God into my life as far as alcohol was concerned. God provided me with this power here, a 12-step spiritual fellowship. This 12-step spiritual fellowship introduced me to a big book, BIGBOOK, Believing in God Beats Our Old Knowledge. In the beautiful book was a program, PROGRAM, People Relying on God, Relaying a Message. The program consisted of 12 spiritual steps, STEPS, Solution to Every Problem, Sober. You told me if you didn't replace the alcohol and drugs with something else that works, like the program, the 12 spiritual step program, you go crazy, you go nuts. NUTS, not using the steps. You need help with it. It told me in the beautiful book. Remember, we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it's too much for you. Get a sponsor. Sponsor? What's a sponsor? SPONSOR. Sober person offering newcomers suggestions on recovery. That's what a sponsor is. Holy shit. So I got a God in my life, I got a 12-step spiritual fellowship, I got a program, a design for living, a blueprint for life, 12 spiritual steps, a sponsor, sponsorees. God, I got so much power over alcohol, I don't know what to do with it. I said to my sponsor, what should I do with all that power over alcohol I got? He said, give it away, he said. Go out there to Woodbridge, give it to them, they won't bloody want it. I did a talk similar to this just a little while ago in Phoenix, Arizona. 8:30 in the morning, 8:15 in the morning, I got a call from a dude. He said, well, I've been talking to my sponsor who's 29 years sober. And he told me that, we've all heard of people like Micky Bush who claim that they got power over alcohol. Well, let him take a drink and see how much power over alcohol he's got. Ha, ha, ha. I said to the dude, get the hell away from that withered up old prune. You know? If he's so far gone, the derelict old dick, he can if that's all he can hear, if that's what he's hearing, he's got a hearing problem. If he's hearing that I'm claiming that if I take a drink I'll have power over alcohol, he's nuts. Get the hell away from him. Of course I won't have the power if I take a drink. I ain't got power over it. But I do have the power to not pick up the drink in the first place. And we got it right here. Me plus you is a power greater than me. You plus us is a power greater than you. We can do together what I couldn't do alone. This power is provided by God. So in the first two steps, you see Jesus, Buddha, God, Allah, Muhammad, or any of those names mentioned. We don't even mention higher power in the first two steps. Because it's a power greater than self. We got it right here, right now. I wouldn't walk around denying that power. Why would I do that? I've got to make a conscious contact with that power. You guys taught me that. That's why I want more. I ain't going to deny that power. I ain't going to separate from you and deny the power. Why would I do that? I'm staying right here where I belong and make a conscious contact with the power every day, like you guys taught me. Every single day, my very first awakening thought, the very first thought that I have, very first conscious thought that I have on awakening, I check in with the old man. I say, hey, old man, what you got for me today? And he says, come on, kid, we've got some work to do. And he sends me to you. Every single day. When I was broke and busted and disgusted and not to be trusted and destitute in despair, I asked for help and he sent me to you. I ain't that same person today. Today I'm a very wealthy guy. I'm a millionaire, for Christ's sake. I can go anywhere I like. I've got friends all over the world. You think I'm here in Woodbridge because I've got nowhere else to go? But I ask him, hey, what you got for me today? And he sends me to you. When I had nothing, he sent me to you. Now I got everything, he sent me to you. And I know this is where I'm supposed to be. Because when I asked for help, I didn't ask him for help with my money or my relationships or my, family or my, drinking or anything. I just in desperation said, help me. And he sent me to you. So here must be where he wants me to be. Here must be where I'm supposed to be. So here's where I'm staying. I'm staying right here with you, where I belong, where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm doing for the reasons I'm doing it. I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying right here with you. I'll risk the Pacific group not liking me. Because here's where I'm supposed to be. And my sponsor teaches me how to apply these principles in all my affairs, which I don't know about. You think I know how to do this thing every single day? I don't know. I follow directions, I keep on doing. 18 years later, I'm more thrilled to be among you than I've ever been. It's more precious to me today to be a small part of a great whole than it's ever been. My sponsor I rely on totally. I love my sponsor. I love the connection I have with my sponsor. And I've got news for you. I've had 3 main sponsors in recovery. Every one of them has been totally different to what I am. Every sponsor I've had, the 3 main sponsors, has been opposite to who and what I am. I didn't go for, like I hear people around here say, that you go and meet somebody who's got what you want or that you relate to. No, I went for people who was opposite to what I am to teach me different to what I do. See, today I got a judge as a sponsor. You know, he's an appellate court judge. You know, I'm a completely illegal person, you know, and he teaches me things different to what I am. And he teaches me how to apply these principles to all my affairs, especially like my personal relationships. Now, I know here in Woodbridge you guys don't have problems with relationships, do you? No, you don't, do you? No. Well, us poor suckers down there in LA do. I wrote a word for relationship. RELATIONSHIP. Really exciting love affair turns into outrageous nightmare. Sobriety hangs in peril. Oh, you relate, do you? Oh. Well, remember, if you're laughing, you're relating, and if you're relating to a sick bastard like me, there ain't no doubt about you, pal. I tell you that. Because I don't get through to no well people. Well people don't laugh at my shit. You people laugh with me, see? My mum don't laugh at this shit. You think my mum laughs at this shit like you lot? She ain't sick like you lot. I go home every year to my mum's house. Every year I walk in my mum's house. Whatever year it is, I walk in my mum's house and say, Mum, I'm 17 years sober. She says, so is the cat. She don't give me a pat on the back for not doing something I shouldn't have done anyway. Give me my jacket, mate, please. I mean, my mum's great. I mean, she's just stunning. She's just a salt of the earth lady. You know, me and my mum, you know, we used to have a terrible relationship, me and my mum. And, you know, when I was young, she used to bash me, and when I got bigger, I used to bash her. And it was awful and ugly and horrible, and for years it was just a disaster, you know. And today we have a wonderful relationship, a very loving and caring relationship, and she's 84 years age, and she's in the twilight of her years, and I mean, she's just immensely proud of her kid out here in America, and you know, she's just delightful. We used to have a rotten, ugly relationship, and now we have a beautiful, wonderful relationship. And guess what, folks? In 18 years, she ain't been to one single meeting. I've been going to meetings every day for 18 years, and she ain't been to one bloody meeting. Where does that tell you the problem lays, huh? Now we have a beautiful relationship. Holy shit. You know what? Micky back there took me to the White House a couple of times and the Capitol building, and I sat in the Speaker's chair, the floor of the House of Representatives there, and sat down in that big-ass chair and was with a couple of congressmen and shit, and I mean, I went into a laughing fit, you know. I mean, I'm sitting in that chair, that big chair that you got, you know, that big chair. And I went into this laughing fit, man, and I slipped off the chair. A congressman from Seattle, he like helped me up. He went, what's the matter, Mick? I said, you'll never understand. Like, I'm certified insane. I'm a nutcase. I mean, how does somebody who's insane get to sit in the Speaker's chair on the floor of the House of Representatives? He looked at me really weird. He went, it happens every day. But you know, I send tapes like Earl's making this tape here. I'll get a tape from her and I'll send it to my mum, and you know, and she listens, and you know, she's there in northwest London, and she sits around with all her old girl and boy friends. They got Derby and Joan Club, and you know, they sit around in the afternoon and they drink tea and they, you know, tell lies. You know, they're allowed, I guess, huh? They're proud of their grandkids and shit, and they sit around bullshitting to each other. And she tells me, because I send her tapes, and she tells me what her friends say, and they say, her friends say to her, tell us some more stories about Micky in America, Mary. Tell us some more stories about where is he this week. And I'll tell her I was in Woodbridge and doing what we do here, and you know, and she'll pucker up, and her chest will go out, and she'll tell them what she tells them, and she'll feel proud and honoured, and you know, and just. her neighbours and friends never used to say that to her, you know. They used to say, are they going to let your Mickey out the nut ward for Christmas this year, Mary? You know, and dear old Mum, she would cry and hurt because she loved me. And I didn't know no better. Today I do. I got a little girl myself, 6 years old. She lives in Chicago with her mum. You know, and it's not a good state of affairs, but you know, I try and pass on to her some of the benefits of being clean and sober. And I say, I bet you don't know something. And she says, what? And I say, how much I love you. And she says, yes, I do. I know how much you love me. And I say, how much do I love you? And she says, all the way up to the sky and all the way to the bottom of the sea and then some more. I say, how do you know that? She says, because you tell me. I don't know whether she's a contender for here or not, but she's a smart. She's 6 years old. I sent her at the beginning of the year. I started sending her $10 a week. Send her with a card, and her mum reads her the card, and you know, send her the $10. And I said to her, I said, I send you the $10, and you can spend it or you can save it, because you know, I want you to have some money, and you know, I want you to be able to spend it and buy some stuff what you want, some candies or whatever you want. I said, and you can spend it, it's okay, because when I ever had money as a kid, I couldn't spend it and enjoy it. So, you know, I said, you can enjoy it and spend it, or you can save it. I said, if you save it, however much you save, on special days like your birthday, I'll double however much you've saved. I'll double it. So she called up and she said, Dad, she said, thanks for the money. She said, I'm saving it. I said, oh, it's all right. Well, that's fine. I said, but spending it's good too. She said, no, I'm saving it first, then I'm going to spend it. Might be a contender, I don't know, you know. But, you know, what can I say? I can only just carry on and be the best example. I know that, you know, if and when she needs to come to me and what have you, I want to be clean and sober and ready and available for her to come to me, you know, and that whatever that's supposed to be is what it will be. I ain't going to listen to what the bullshit around here is. I'm going to do what you guys told me, to be active and to stay available and to do this thing. Because contrary to what a lot of people say, I don't know where it comes from, folks. I have no idea with where some of the lip-flapping, party-line bullshit statements that we hear around Alcoholics Anonymous come from. They have nothing to do with nothing. And we're walking around here bantering crap about nothing. You know, I heard a guy in a meeting yesterday say, we're all the same distance from the next drink. We're all just one drink away from a drunk. All we got is today. I said, do what? Where the hell did you get that from? Everybody knows that. We're all just one drink away from a drunk. I said, you bloody well might be. What do you mean one drink about? Where did you get that from? He said, I'm 23 years sober. He said, that's my experience, strength and hope. I said, shove it up your tush. 23 years sober, walking around saying crap like that. We're all just one drink away from a drunk. We're all just one arm length away from a drink. Are you nuts? I said, you know what you are? You're a bloody double agent, you are. You're a spy in the camp, you. The diseases let you stay sober 23 years so that you can walk among us spewing out shit like that. That has nothing to do with nothing. That's my experience, strength and hope, he said. I said, look, okay then, I'll tell you what then. If that's your experience, strength and hope, are you trying to tell me that this guy over here that's diligently working his program, that's going to meetings, that reads the book, that works the steps, that does his commitments, that puts $1 in the basket, that works with his sponsor, that sponsors other people, that does the best he can on a daily basis, is the same distance from the next drink as this dick over here who ain't doing shit? Yeah. He went, blah, 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 go flat somewhere else. Said, if you want to prove it, I said, I'll tell you what, you're 23 years sober. I'll put $100 on you. You put $100 on this 2-day shaky newcomer, and we'll see. You want to take that bet? No, of course he didn't. Nice, catchy little lip-flapping thing to say, but has nothing to do with nothing. It's like AA etiquette. It's like stuff we're supposed to say around here. Like everything you hear from me is strictly my own opinion, just for me. just for me. This is just for me. Just talking for me. I don't know how we got the balls to stand up here and say shit like that. That's like in case we step on the toes of some delicate dude with all these feelings. When I got sober, we used to have, like, defects and shortcomings. Now we just seem to have issues. Past the tissues, I got issues. All that lip flowing. I wouldn't stand. Everything I've said to you is directly out of this beautiful book and is my personal experience. Ain't nothing in the beautiful book about opinion, strength and hope. Same as there ain't nothing in the beautiful book about into getting. There's nothing to get here. If you're here trying to get something, you're going to miss the deal. This ain't about into getting. It's about doing and giving, doing and giving, doing and giving. And as you do it and give it and do it and give it, it seems to have a residue that sticks to you. And suddenly you're taking a 30-day chip or celebrating a birthday, or maybe one day you get a year or something and some poor sick puke, maybe as sick as you, comes up and says, will you be my sponsor? You think, get away from me. But suddenly you've got something somebody wants because you're not hopeless and helpless anymore. And you've got some light shining in your eyes and something's going on. And we get to apply these principles in all our affairs. And we get to be able to do like the beautiful book. Powerless? I don't walk around here saying I'm powerless. In the beautiful book on my favourite page this week, page 132, it says here, so we think cheerfulness and laughter make for usefulness. Outsiders are sometimes shocked when we burst into merriment over a seemingly tragic experience out of the past. But why shouldn't we laugh? We have recovered and have been given the power to help others. To recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body and have been granted the power to help the next guy. What a gift. What else is there? I was reading in our beautiful grapevine, a little article, and it said that when a single candle lights another candle, it loses absolutely nothing of itself. And by lighting the other candle, the heat and the light from the other candle enhances the glow of the whole thing. Isn't that what we do here? When one alcoholic addict helps another alcoholic addict, he loses absolutely nothing of himself. And by helping the next guy, he adds to the unity of the whole thing. What else is there? Holy shit. You think my mum laughed at seemingly hopeless situations out of the past? You think my mum laughed when I came home and puked on the cat? Because I'm a puker too. Any other pukers here? How many minutes? Oh, plenty of time. Oh yeah, and I ain't no dribble-ass puker like I'm a goddamn directional puker, me, man. Large chunks, projectiles. I could hit your foot from here. Whoosh, like that. Have you ever puked on a cat? Have you ever puked on a cat? That's weird shit, I can tell you. Don't worry about that. If you're a puker like me, you know it's coming, don't you? You can feel it coming, you can... You swallow it back down. What, is yours taste better than mine? But then you know it's coming, it's going to be a gusher. You can feel it. Right on the cat. And you look at it weird like that, you go, holy shit. I don't remember eating that. And then the cat gets up and runs off. Bits of carrot hanging on it and shit, you know what I mean? That's weird shit. Where does that carrot come from? I can promise you in my entire life, I never once sat down and ate a diced carrot. Yet every time I puke, there the bastard was. Carrot and corn. The cat running off with carrot and corn all over it. You think my mum laughed at that? My mum never laughed at that. No. But we laugh, don't we? We laugh together. We come together because that's what the language of the heart is. H-E-A-R-T, healing, enjoying and recovering together. We can do together what we couldn't do apart. That's what we do here. That's why it's here. Whatever I heard before I got here, I never heard it until I got here and the magic of Alcoholics Anonymous wrapped its arms around me. And I'll wrap it up with a little story that just I was speaking out there at Nick's picnic this afternoon for a recovery treatment centre, and it reminded me of a little story. You know, on that very first meeting, my telephone number, by the way, is 818 area code RUSOBER. 818 RU-SOBER. All right? Just like Toys R Us. 818 RUSOBER. 818. Not 800, you cheap bastard. 818. See? And I tell you that because after that very first meeting that I went to, when I got home, I had 2 telephone numbers in my hand. And guess what? I was already an active member. On the very first day, I was an active member because I called one of the numbers. I got into action. I didn't know what I was doing, but the process was working. And I called one of the numbers, and the dude answered the phone. And he said, I recognise who you are. He said, from your voice. I said, oh, do you? I said, where's that? He said, from the meeting. I said, I got these phone numbers in my hand. He said, yeah. He said, I gave you the the numbers at the meeting. I said, oh, were you at the meeting? He said, yeah, I gave you the number. I said, what about them meetings? He said, what about them? I said, you go all the time? He said, yeah, I go all the time. I said, when do you go? He said, every day. I said, you go to meetings at night? He said, yeah, I go to meetings at night every night. I said, oh, can I go to a meeting with you tonight? And he said, well, he said, normally, he said, I would. He said, but tonight, you know, I've made arrangements to go to a movie. And I said, oh, all right, then, it don't matter, it don't matter. I went all little. You know how you go little when you get rejected? You go little and... all right, don't matter, you know. And he picked up on it and he went, holy shit. I said, what's the matter? He said, you may have just saved my life. I said, no, I never done nothing. You know? See, I don't know about denial. D-E-N-I-A-L. Don't even notice I am lying. Look, goddamn brain surgeon, look. Must be a brain surgeon. Nobody who's less important than a brain surgeon wouldn't turn his phone off in a meeting, would he? I wonder what head he's working on, the little one or the big one, yeah. Anyway, the dude said, you may have just saved my life. I went, why? What happened? He went, wait a minute, a newcomer wants to go to a meeting and I got 4 months and I tell him, no, I'm going to a movie. Holy shit, what is wrong with me? Where do you live? I'm coming round to pick you up. I said, really? He said, yeah, really. I said, what about your movie? He said, you're much more important than a movie. I said, really? He went, yeah. I went, holy shit. And he did. He came round and picked me up. And I went out to his car. And he was a goddamn weirdo as well. You know? He was weird. I went out to his car. He had a little red Fiat sports car. But he had it all decked out like a Mercedes. It had a Mercedes emblem on it and wheels and shit. You know what I mean? I didn't know I was getting my first lesson in alcoholic grandiosity, you know. But he took me to a meeting. He got me a beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, like the one I put here today. It's from the morning meetings book here, but I saw it and I put it there. I like having it there. And he got me a book just like this, just exactly the same as this one. I got one just the same. And you know what? I was there a couple of weeks ago up in the San Fernando Valley, Balboa Park. We was at a picnic where, you know, we all go, and I had all my troops with me, and I saw old Zachary there, and I said, hey, Zach, nice to see you. What are you doing on this side of the hill? He's from Beverly Hills. He said, I'm speaking at the meeting today. I went, oh, far out. Wow, that's really cool. And guess what, folks? He's still 4 months ahead of me. I'll leave you with what Alcoholics Anonymous really means. And I could have said this in the beginning and saved all your bladders is pressure. Look. ALCOHOLICS. Alcoholics. ANONYMOUS. Alcoholics Anonymous. A life centered on helping others lives in complete sobriety. Actions, not our names, yield maintenance of unity and service. And that's all there is. There ain't no more than that. And though it's not in the book, the 2 most prolific statements that we use around here is keep coming back one day at a time. And guess what? Those statements ain't in the book. But please do it. God bless.